Hey guys, welcome to BP, the Bible Perspective. John 3:16, whose view is right? And yes, you are actually looking at a comparison of Black Hebrew Israelites with Calvinists. Now, before we get into it, please like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comments section below. All comments are welcome. Now, this is a short video, and it is a prelude to a series of upcoming videos in which I will compare in more detail how people interpret John 3:16 to fit their theological narrative. Now, you're looking at my thumbnail and you're seeing a progressive, a Black Hebrew Israelite, and of course, two of the most famous Calvinists present today. And what they all have in common is that they all interpret one of the most famous scriptures in the New Testament, John 3:16. In fact, in the entire Bible. And instead of coming to the conclusion of how great God's love is towards us, in each of these cases, they twist the scriptures to fit their own narrative. And one of the ways they do this, for example, Calvinists, and you're looking at Voddie Baucham, of course, and James White, expert apologists in defending the Reformed theology. Now, how do they interpret John 3:16? Well, you have to kind of use some Greek, some Henoch clauses. You have to divert from, well, what does world mean without necessarily explaining what Jesus meant by world. And then, of course, you go through other various scriptures to make your point. I'm going to point those out in a moment. Now, the progressive brother here is, of course, pushing a progressive interpretation of John 3:16, meaning he's not talking about salvation, because in order to use John 3:16 the way Jesus meant it, you certainly would have to not kind of disregard your progressive lifestyle, which includes but not limited to the homosexual agenda, the transgender agenda, the pro-choice agenda. We can go on and on and on. But one of the things that surprised me one of the most was the Black Hebrew Israelites and how they used John 3:16 to fit their narrative. It's even more crazy because basically they're saying that God only loved the black people. Now, let me show you just how some of the verses, how they use this. And one of the verses is John 17:9, and they actually use this. And it says, I pray for them. I am not praying for the world. Now here's another one. And I'm going to go a little more deeper than what they went. I'm going to start at verse 14, but I'm going to go all the way to verse 18. It says, just as Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up, so that everyone who believes in him will have eternal life. For God loved the world in this way. He gave his one and only Son, so that everyone who believes in him will not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world for God did not send his Son into the world that he might condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. Anyone who believes in him is not condemned, but anyone who does not believe is already condemned, because he has not believed in the name of the one and only Son of God. Now, I went further with this verse because, again, in neither cases do they really explain, one, what does he mean by world? In other words, what did Jesus expressively mean? For God so loved the world. Well, then he goes on and says in verse 17, for God did not send his Son into the world that he might condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Now, our Black Hebrew Israelite brothers are not trying to talk about salvation, eternal salvation, but like I say, in their interpretation, God is only concerned about the black people. Okay. But like I say, this was just a short video because I found it hilarious, especially, and I know that Vodi Bachman and James White wouldn't be caught dead in the same room as the two black Hebrew Israelite brothers, but they all share in common the methodology of how they translate and interpret John 3:16, but they arrive at different conclusions to fit each um, theological narrative. More on this to come. But look, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. See you next time.